Hey everyone, and welcome into TexAgs Rewind, presented by T-Mobile here on this Memorial Day edition of the show. We're doing it because the selection show is happening today, so it was all about that here on TexAgs Radio. We started off the show, though, with not only talking baseball, but I heard some nonsense on the radio about Jimbo versus Saban and Saban winning and yada, yada, yada. I heard some of that stuff, and so I had to go on a little rant with it. OB joined me on that one. We had Jim Schlossnagle before the announcement for the regionals and whatnot. Well, the regional had been announced, but who they're paired up against. So we had him on. We had Bronny on as well. We had Tom Hart breaking things down there. He was there in Hoover. And, of course, Billy Liucci for the show. It's TexAgs Rewind. But I'm listening, and I guess there's a show on in the morning, and they were talking college football. So I'm like, you know what? I like college football. Let's listen. And the host was Jeff Schwartz and some guy, all right? And they were sounded like a good show, other than their takes on Jimbo. They had takes on Jimbo. The first thing I hear is, well, Nick Saban absolutely won that argument because Jimbo Fisher had to have a press conference to address something that somebody else said. He could have just stayed quiet. He would have won. But because he addressed what Nick Saban did, Jimbo lost. And they went on and on about that. And I was like waiting for the phone number. Please give me this freaking number. I'm going to call this show. And then I'm going to have Dalton record it. But they didn't. They moved on to another topic. But I was like waiting for the phone number. But then they said more. They said that they're going to use this as recruiting against Jimbo for being a crazy man. You know, think about it. Like they're going to negatively impact Jimbo's ability to recruit because who wants to go play for a crazy man? I don't know about you, OB, but football's a kind of a gladiator sport, and I think people like a little toughness in their coach. That's just me.
Well, one coach ended up having to go on Sirius Radio and apologize.
Yep.
And if I'm given a chance, I'm going to ask Nick Saban. If I don't get the chance this weekend or this week, I'm going to do it in SEC Media Days. Yep. I'm going to ask him, meaning Nick Saban, what evidence that he has to say that, and is Jimbo lying when he says that they didn't buy the players?
Right.
So I'm going to ask him point blank. Then you know he's calling up different coaches to apologize. Well, why did you win when you're having to backtrack? Secondly, the people that would say that Jimbo, quote, lost because he called a press conference to respond to someone attacking his character,
yeah.
and the work that he and his staff put in, they're like they strike me as the type of guy that, you know, if you're in a situation and somebody shoves you, that you just sit, you know, you cower in the corner.
Yep.
Jimbo counterpunched. If Saban doesn't throw the first punch, Jimbo doesn't say anything. So to say that,
you know that people who would argue with you, and I wouldn't, I 100% agree with you. They'll say, but he wasn't saying they did anything illegal. He's just saying that this is the new way it is.
Well, first of all, and I was on a radio in Alabama, and they tried to say that. I said, no, it's absolutely wrong, because what he suggested was against Texas state law. And so by saying that, he's suggesting that all these players and coaches and everybody broke the state law.
And then their response would be, but do you really think that NIL did not play a factor in A&M having the number one ever recruiting class in the history of recruiting?
And I would say, well, I'm sure they used it as a tool. They would say,
these are opportunities that are possible.
Let me tell you what if some of the guys before have gotten in NIL, and if you come here, you'll probably have an opportunity to get some similar deals because, you know, we think you're going to be a great football player too.
Yeah.
So there's going to be opportunities here. But to say that's a whole lot different than saying, hey, we're going to make sure you get X amount of dollars, because that's against whatever rules the NCAA may or may not have, but it's definitely against Texas state law. So I think a guy like that's just speaking out of ignorance.
But they believe what they hear.
But they're going to hear, right. And
they
like
believe
I said,
it.
Speaking out of ignorance.
Yeah.
And how many times have we talked about this? The national media covers for Saban. they cover for certain programs.
So how much of a learning experience, not for you personally, but for the team and especially the younger players being in that tournament format as you get down the line here with your postseason?
I mean, I think everything's a learning experience. Certainly for a freshman or a group of guys that have never, I guess it's been 2 years, more than 2 years since anybody from Texas A&M played in any tournament like that, given the situation last year and then COVID the year before that. So I think it was great. And we'll see, hopefully we can build on that experience this weekend as that there aren't any, when you get a chance to lose one game, you lose two, it's over. And so the sense of urgency has to be, at the highest level.
You got to be feeling good about your chances moving forward, especially with the way Micah Dallas delivered on Thursday of last week.
No doubt. Definitely feel better than before he pitched. Would like to see Detmer give us the same kind of outing and then somebody else. You can't shoot. If we were able to get through this weekend, 2 out of 3 next weekend turns out great. But you can't. We're going to have good starting pitching, for 3 or more days in order to advance through this thing. And normally the teams that you get sent have those kind of pitchers, or at least they've had that kind of success relative to their conference or what they've done. So we'll see what the matchups are this morning and then figure out, how we need to line our pitching up. I think we could go really any direction, given the matchups, but yeah, Micah was outstanding, and it's just good to see him have a lot of confidence.
Tennessee, you've seen them a couple times up close in this kind of fashion as well in a tournament setting. Just how impressive are they up close?
Well, I asked Kyle Peterson about it on the air yesterday during the championship game. Nobody's unbeatable, but they look unbeatable, and they have all the elements of an unbeatable team. Their starting pitching is second to none. I mean, it's historically good. The bullpen, I don't know that we've ever seen a makeup like it, right? Because we haven't, because we've never seen somebody who could throw 104. They have a Ben Joyce throws 104 miles an hour. But he's not their best reliever, as good as that is. And we saw a 103-mile-an-hour fastball get hit out to center field yesterday. They have all the pieces. And even when they're playing against teams that know them well and they can hold them down for 5 innings and have the entire scouting report, which, in the SEC, that's the toughest competition, I feel like, because I feel like you're going to then see opponents who don't know you as well and don't know your tendencies, maybe don't have your signs, stuff like that. Great opponents that know them well can hang around with them for a little bit, but then there's just an avalanche at the end. They hung 9 at the end on Florida. They hung 7 in the end on Kentucky. I think I have those numbers right. It's tough to outlast them, and you have to play a perfect game to beat them. And you have to play a perfect game, and you have to maybe play even outside of your own, because you can't beat them going station to station, scoring 1 run here, 1 run there. You've got to get a guy on and hit a 3-run jack, and then they're not unbeatable because the number 1 national seed hasn't won the whole thing since 1999. So until they buck that trend, they're beatable. That being said, they don't have many soft spots.
I thought going into that tournament, A&M was locked in as a top 8 seed, and then they may have needed that Florida win, that first one. But I just thought it's such a long season in baseball that the SEC was not going to get one top 8 seed in Tennessee, and no one was really positioned to rip that one from A&M either. So I didn't want to see an 0-2. That would have, you kind of leave your fate in others' hands, which we've seen has hurt the Aggies before. But I just felt like they were going to be a top 8 even prior to going in there, to be honest with you. I just think what they did over the course of a 30-game SEC season, along with about 3 pretty noteworthy non-conference midweek wins. I thought that was more than enough. And again, I just didn't think there was a second team in the SEC that was going to go in and rip a top 8 seed. I know Auburn was sitting there, LSU, if they could have made a run, but I just didn't think that was going to be the case. So, yeah, I think they're locked in. I think you can shelve battered Aggie syndrome. So it's just shocking to hear y'all talk about how long it's been since they've hosted a regional series. And the one year there was postseason since that time was when Davidson beat North Carolina. But it's incredible that Texas A&M would not be a regional host in that long. That's why we're where we're at. I think it's even more incredible that Slosh has them here in year one. I mean, I don't think anyone in their wildest dreams would have thought that Texas A&M could be a top 8 seed, and we would have said that 6 weeks into the season too. So this has been an absolutely remarkable turnaround. It's been fun. It was fun watching them in Hoover. I do think they kind of hit a wall there. I thought they hit it against Bama. I think Bronning may have stolen my material there because I told him that specifically last night, that if Rock doesn't hit that home run, I think the result's the same as that Florida one, and that just kind of revved up the whole dugout. And, it was nice to beat Bama. They were just waiting. One of their little social media dorks, some little dweeb working up there in the department, those people that talk crap to, a team full of 85 football players, and the guys that talk crap to the baseball team that's out there, busting their ass, the scholarship athletes, and there's the social media guy or girl that's just waiting to to ridicule the team when they lose. One was just sitting there waiting with something related to Saban, and so I give credit to whoever runs the A&M side of it that didn't do that. But I was sitting there going, they need to beat these bozos. Bama's on my radar right now, big time. So that was a nice one to get, and who knows, maybe kick them out of the tournament in the process.
All right, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, and tell me what you think about A&M's pairing when it comes out. We'd love to see it here on this little comment thread right here. It is TexAgs Rewind, brought to you by T-Mobile. That wants you to visit T-Mobile.com/acrossamerica to learn how you get more value and coverage through T-Mobile.